Hey guys, I hope you're having a great day. Today I'm going to be playing a little bit of Monster Hunter World. In this video, I'd like to talk a little bit about the kind of games that really challenge a player, as well as discuss how people sometimes like to perceive those games as being for a masochistic type of gamer. While that can be true, the point I want to make in this video is that I don't believe this is always the case. Sure, some people probably enjoy the punishing gameplay, finding the joy in hitting their head against a wall. But I think that understanding the alternative mindset of a gamer playing through these types of games is interesting. In my last video, I talked a bit about competitive games. Playing a game where you're put up against another human becomes one of the biggest challenges a gamer will face. It's your skill versus theirs, and in those instances you are just as likely to succeed as you are to fail, should your opponent be of equal skill. But what of a single-player game? Whether a single-player game is perceived as hard comes down to your skill as a player. Dark Souls was hard for me once, but the game became what I would describe as simple. The difficulty was gone, but that didn't stop me from enjoying the game. My masterful execution of the game made the experience more fun, not less. Challenge is a sadistic kind of fun, but when you turn that challenge on its head, when you make that challenge easy, when it stops becoming a challenge at all, then it becomes a different kind of fun. When I was young, I remember a conversation that happened between two of my childhood friends. One of them told the other that I was into the type of games we would call quote-unquote Nintendo hard. One such example was Mega Man. I really didn't play the harder games all that much at the time, but hearing that conversation really sparked something inside me. To hear someone talk about me like I was a master of something made me happy. And so, I started to sit down and play more of those games. I challenged myself more and more to become the kind of kid my childhood friends spoke so highly of. You see, making hard games easy is a spectacle. Those who are able to execute that feat become performers, and the joy comes not from the challenge of the game, but the thrill of the performance itself. Even if you are the only viewer watching said spectacle, I still think there is value in looking at what you've done and having a sense of pride and accomplishment at how you've become so easily able to accomplish it. Another great example, and one that is more recent, is of course Monster Hunter World. Though people might argue that it's become easier than its predecessors, I still think it offers a decent challenge. The three series I've mentioned, Dark Souls, Monster Hunter, and Mega Man, are games that most would agree have fairly weak stories. Yes, an argument can be made that you can look deep into some of these games and find a deep lore, but what I want to focus on is the narrative from beginning to end. I love games with a compelling story, but I don't fault the more hardcore games for lacking one. You play to face the challenge, and to suffer through a game for the sake of the story defeats the feeling that I believe the developers of these games want for the player. Sure, some developers might just want to make the player suffer, but I believe that many developers want to make us the star of the show, by giving us a mission and a story that we may write ourselves. A good game is one you should want to talk about, and some games do this through their narrative, others through their unique and interesting mechanics. For hardcore games, the stories it makes you want to tell are those moments where you got to pull off those clutch victories, or feats of skill, those moments where you were in the zone. When I think of playing difficult games, I like to compare it a little to sporting activities. Personally, I like to compare it to track and field. The events in track and field are often played in a competitive environment, but during practice, you're not facing anyone. The event I was most proficient at back in the day was high jump. Difficulty was determined by the height of the bar. Every time I won, the bar got higher. Once they got that bar to 6 feet, I was playing a very difficult game. It took many tries, but when I finally managed it, I found I was able to do it again and again. After enough time, leaping 6 feet into the air was child's play for me, but to others, it became an impressive spectacle. I can understand why people won't ever appreciate difficult games the same way as a sport, but what matters more is how the player who chooses to do either activity feels. I can appreciate challenges both mental, like in the case of games, as well as physical, in the case of sports. To reiterate one more time, those who find hardcore games fun are hardly what I would call masochistic, at least in most cases. When someone finally makes their challenge easy, the suffering fades, but the real fun begins. Or at least that's how I view it. But I would like to hear what you think down in the comments. Do you like hardcore games? And if so, why do you choose to play them? If you enjoyed this video, consider leaving a like, and subscribe if you'd like to see more. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon. Goodbye. Filling up my lungs, I'm 6 feet under, cast asunder, yet here we are. Now I've just begun, your pity party can't start without me, so here we are. I've got a few tricks up my sleeve, I've been practicing like you wouldn't even believe. Isn't it nice to feel your own vice, fill your chest just like how you filled mine?